So I haven't made a video on Spice and Wolf in a little bit. I have been watching every single episode, but recently watched episodes 16 and 17, and we reached a point that I really wanted to discuss, so here we are. Daddy's come home. I finally returned with the milk like I promised. But unlike your father or my father, I'm back. So here's the thing. Holo's mental emotional breakdown in 16 and what then leads into 17 with like Lawerence's whole like trying to make a market crash in order to avoid this man from paying off the debt, and then Holo marrying him, having a kid, starting a family so she won't be alone, was pain. And honestly, almost unwatchable. But this is such good drama, and probably the highlight of this anime if we're being honest. Because the thing that's really interesting, and I think that a lot of shows would be frustrating, is that if Lawerence would just like be honest or more honest with his feelings, like I want to travel with you, I will never leave you even if you didn't have debt, it probably would solve a lot of this stuff. But the idea that it probably is also a very confusing relationship to just kind of casually be traveling with a god, and honestly that god has took a few swings at you, so you're probably a little on edge. The idea that basically Holo at the end of 16 gets, she reads the letter, right? And the letter pretty much shatters her expectations, because the kind of two things that have been tying at face value them traveling together is the debt that she has to pay off and the destination. And she pretty much gets the realization that the destination is destroyed and it's no longer there. And it's implied that Lawerence knew of this, and then she starts acting like, well, you know, this must have been some sick joke to you. I'd always be talking about this, and you know deep down there's no... And it spirals. It then goes to, I want to sleep with you, because she's so desperate to cling on to a reason that someone will stick with her, because if they have a child together, then there's the family dynamic, and it's just him pretty much standing there, just defeated, and it's one of the most painful things that I've witnessed in the past couple of anime seasons. And from what I'm reading from people who watched the original, it's basically like reopening an old wound, so to speak. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about, but wow. Now, I do have full live reactions over on Patreon if you want to see my full and good thought to any episode. Even if I haven't been talking about it for the past month or so, I have been watching over on Patreon, so there is live reactions for every single episode. Don't know if I'll keep doing videos on Spice Wolf. I might do what I did here and just wait for something big that I have a idea to talk about, because really I'm not going to force a video out if I didn't have a lot to say where I haven't already said before, which is why we're back here, because this is just such a unique arc and probably the highlight as it stands for the show. But the whole dynamic, because if you really look at where we started with these two to where they currently are, there is clearly a love and affection on both sides. Especially with like the past few episodes prior to the whole emotional breakdown, like there's so many more mannerisms and behaviors that really gets across that Holo's like in love, or very close to getting to that point, it feels like. In a lot of ways, it feels like the only way to make this properly work going forward is when you look at 17, the latest episode. If the whole market crash, because they have these stones pirate or whatever, like the whole idea is pretty much like making it so it's going to be worth less so that he won't have the money in order to pay off the debt. But there's got to be more. Like, it feels like this is the turning point that most likely he has to be more honest with his feelings. It can't just simply be like, we'll keep traveling together, or it will take you this long to pay off. Like, it feels like we're at a turning point where he has to be like, I want to travel with you because I want to be with you, and I'm not going to abandon you at the very least. Even if he doesn't go the route of I love you or something, I just don't see how we go around anything other than this. And it feels like Holo hasn't completely given up on him either, given that there was two letters for him. One was the marriage certificate, and the other was a breakdown of this man's finances, of how all of his assets are kept. So it's not completely over with their relationship, but it is a one wrong step, it snaps and it's over for good. Like, it's a spicy situation, but I think to have such an era of peace with these two, because really like the past month of this show prior to her reading that letter and snapping, they've been good. Like, they've really bonded, they've had really good connections. It just felt like there was no stopping it. And I love the idea that the antagonists in Spice and Wolf are always so different. It's like sometimes people are trying to scam us, sometimes someone's trying to I mean, the dude we're going up against here isn't even a bad guy. From his point of view, he's actually helping someone who can be freed and have a peaceful life. Like, it makes total sense from his point of view. But it's just such a good drama moment, because Holo's VA is probably one of the most talented performances of this anime year. The scene of her breaking down and freaking out, her voice goes from desperate to anger to pure sorrow to distraught. Like, her vocal fluctuation is insane in like a 5-minute scene. It's like someone's whose life shattering. And like, Lawerence was like pretty much speechless during most of that. Because what the hell is he supposed to say? I mean, obviously he's not going to sleep with her in that moment. It's a desperation attempt to, you know, get pregnant. He's like, okay, well, I'll go to this guy. And it's like, oh my god, it was frustrating, it was sad, it was angry. It's just so good. And then the latest episode was almost like a redemption. It's like, okay, he's hustling, he's trying. And honestly, the plan was all going well, and then his pal says, I can't help you. And this is what I love about Spice and Wolf, when I'm like, what do you mean you can't help us? And then he starts explaining how, like, how will it look if a man who's just basically chasing after the next get-rich scheme, like, it's gonna ruin his image, and then what happens about vandalism? That 10 coin you're gonna pay me isn't gonna... It's like, oh shit, yeah, you're actually right to turn us down. Thank God for the Alchemists. If the Alchemists come through because no one does dealings with them because they're too sketchy at face value, everything seems like it's gonna line up correctly, but that's a big if. There's still room. And the fact that we don't just like rush for, like, I don't know, I feel like you could easily see how an arc like this, like imagining if like Spice and Wolf, like this was the first time we were ever getting Spice and Wolf and it was like a 12 episode anime and they really wanted to hit a bunch of stuff. You could see how an arc like this could get summed down to into like an episode if like a production committee really wanted to get spicy with it. So the fact that we can have so many episodes like dedicated, it's like they actually are taking their time going through these light novels. It's very clear. I don't even read the Spice Wolf light novels, but it's very clear they ain't rushing through this stuff. And yeah, definitely, I continue to say that it feels like very similar to what happened to the Fruits Basket remake is clearly what the Spice and Wolf remake is getting. Now, of course, those are my feelings. Let me know what you've been thinking of Spice and Wolf, especially with this latest arc. It is so freaking good. And if you want more videos on Spice Wolf, let me know. Might just deliver if you're so lucky. So, let me know your feelings down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're around. Of course, ring that bell like I mentioned. We've got those full live reactions over on Patreon. And hey, while you're over there, I'll give you a video shout out. So today I got Blood iOS, That Random Man Anime Man, Paltar, Zen Virus, Edvar, Hiroshi Shin, and Golden Angel 1517. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you'll have a good one.